should be live. Let's see. I think I'm good. If you are already hanging out in chat, please let me know if you can see and hear me. Otherwise, I'll just wait for you guys to filter in. And let's see, I already posted on Instagram, which is usually how most people remember. And make chat bigger. There. All right. Oh, and also in Discord. There we go. Now we're good. All right, what is happening? Okay. I have my reference on my iPad. Which is also on the screen, but this is a photo I took earlier today in the forest. What I loved about it is the dappled lighting on the tree trunk. Well, everywhere in the forest, but I just really like it just has like this magical feel to it when the light is filtering through the leaves, and it's really challenging to paint, so I'm gonna try to paint that. Hi Slave of Hell, good morning. Good morning from your nap, I guess I should say. I hope it was glorious. Need to prep my palette. Good morning, yes. I mean, you know how it goes. I always say good morning no matter what. But it tends to work out because I never stream at night, so someone's always just waking up when they come into my stream. Hi Leah, you're working but you'll watch the replay. Okay, sounds good. We'll keep you company whenever you get a chance to watch it. Hey Woosie, good morning. Hi Alina, hi Tammy. You can't believe you hated naps as a kid. Oh, man. Yeah, kids always resist it, and then you get older and you're like, oh, I wish I could have a nap. The world keeps turning. I forgot how to say good morning in French. Bonjour, though. Oh, yeah, it's early for you. I'm only 4 hours ahead of the East Coast in America right now, which is weird. Usually I'm 5 hours ahead because all summer Scotland is on British summertime, which is GMT +1. But now we set our clocks back on Sunday, and so we're only 4 hours ahead for a limited time, which is just wrong. It messes everything up. But luckily I don't have any, I don't have a paint-along scheduled during this time, so it won't, hopefully no one will miss that, which has happened in the past. Hey, Chloe. Hey, Dawnstar. You're all waking up while I'm just waiting to be able to go to bed. Oh, Woosie, yeah. That was always really difficult when I was in the US and Wolfie was here. I would have a whole half of a day left as he was going to bed. And then he was waking up as I was going to bed or something like that. It was like we always were barely missing each other, or we could get like an hour or two together. But that's because I was in Denver, which is 7 hours behind. But anyway, we're here. We're in chat. We're hanging out. Whatever time it is for you, I hope you are having a lovely time. Hey Xenium, good to see you again. Hey Stephanie. I actually need to make chat bigger. I always do that. I zoom in and I zoom in and I zoom in, and then I'm like, that should be good. And then I start reading chat and I'm like, oh god, it needs to be bigger. Hi, Julie. Hey, Jilzy Bean. Okay, maybe turn that a little. Hey, Twilight. So, is anyone gonna be hanging out and painting with me today? Or are a lot of you guys just kind of chilling or working or using this as background noise? Which are all of the above is okay. I'm just curious. It's not a paint along, but it's like you're more than welcome to paint with me. Like we did last week. Or sorry, was it the week before? So I'm going to be painting this photo that's below me, and you're more than welcome to use that as your reference photo. I'll also maybe talk through some of the things I'm doing, but otherwise we can just hang out and I'll be painting. You can watch, you can chat. You have to go back to work soon. Oh, okay. You're afraid you'll fail? No! Just by trying, you're not failing. You're learning. Came back from your morning hike. Ooh, nice. I went on it was only like half an hour walk this morning, but it was such beautiful sun. And right now the leaves are just perfect everywhere. So I've been going out anytime it's sunny and taking lots of photos too, for sure. And I actually took this photo that I'm painting today, this morning, in the forest. Having dinner in 8:30 in India. Wow, okay. Hey, Kat. Oh, you're setting up your new printer? That's exciting. I mean, it's exciting if it's a printer that makes art. I mean, that's what I get excited about. Cool. Hey, Holly. Awesome. Cool. Hi, Tilda. I am using gouache. You can use whatever you want. But if you have questions about gouache, just let me know. Also, it doesn't necessarily have to be about what I'm painting. You can ask anything. Hi, Marta. Hey, how do I say your name? Nukba? You're stressed waiting for a job announcement. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That's so hard. We'll be your distraction. Also a photographer. That is one of my favorite things about going for walks, is taking my camera and just capturing what I see, trying to do it in an interesting way. Actually, wait, before I open that, I'm going to get this wet. I think I've mentioned this before, but what I like to do if I'm using a limited color palette, instead of having like all of my gouache colors out, and by doing that, you know, as soon as I open this, they start to dry out. That's just the nature of gouache. I always spritz it a little when I open it, but if I'm using a limited palette, like 3 to 5 colors, it's actually better for me if I just scoop out a few of the colors and put it on my mixing tray. But it'll still start to dry out really fast. So what I do is take some of this Stay Wet. Sorry, it's a Stay Wet acrylic palette paper, and it comes in a huge pack, but I just cut it down to the sizes I need. And I'll do a little strip like this, and I'll just get it wet on both sides and stick it to my palette tray. And then I put my paint on top of that, and it just helps stay moist a little bit longer. Alternatively, if you don't have that paper, you can just cut up or tear a paper towel and get it wet, and then do a strip of it like that, and then put your little dollops of gouache on it. It will soak up some of your color, but at the same time, it's gonna stop it from drying out so quick. So it's kind of like the lesser of the evil. But yeah, anyway, that's my plan. That's what I like to do. I used to use a whole sheet of the paper on the entire palette. I don't know why I used to do that, but now I just cut little strips of it. But if you've watched any of my old gouache videos, you might have noticed that. So I'm gonna stick with this color palette, this limited palette. This is the palette I use to paint these forest scenes. Even these ones, which are very cool colors, I use this. And these seascape scenes. So I think that was the first one I used with this palette. So it's been a really good selection of colors. It does everything I need it to do, so I want to keep exploring that. I might eventually search or find a limited palette that I want to use for winter colors, but to be honest, as long as you have red, blue, and yellow, you can basically mix anything. It just depends on what way they lean. You opened your palette the other day and found mold suggestions. Can I use the paint if I wipe off the top layer of mold? Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. I've never experienced that, but what kind of gouache do you have? What brand is it? If I have experienced a couple of my colors getting stinky, like the quinacridone magenta, and back in the day when I had this color called rose, it got pretty stinky. It never molded, but what I did was I mixed in a couple drops of clove bud oil, and that helps it smell less and it'll stop it from growing mold. But if instead of waiting so long between opening your palette, I suggest opening it at least once a week and mixing each one. Just get a little palette knife and mix each little color, and give it a spritz or two of distilled water. I just use regular water, but if you want, you can be careful and use distilled water. And that should help. My colors are so cross-contaminated. That's okay. Use MGram and Winsor Newton. So you're the, I don't know, however many person to tell me that they use MGram and they have mold. So I've heard this before. Apparently MGram is conducive to mold, but other people say they use it and they don't get it. So honestly, I don't know. I use Winsor Newton, and I used a lot of Holbein before, which also never had an issue. Payne's Gray by MGram. Yeah, so I think it's because they have honey in their gouache and their watercolors. It could be that. I don't know, you might have to do a little more research on that. But ultimately, a good strategy is if you have that type of gouache and you don't want to just replace your whole set of gouache. If you're using a palette like this, just open it maybe even every 3 days and give each one a little mix. You could even use a toothpick and get some movement in there, spritz it with some distilled water, and make sure when you seal it, it's properly sealed all the way. But it's the thing, where there is water, there is life. I bet if I left my gouache sitting for the longest I've left it sitting is a month and it didn't have any mold on it. But I bet if I left it sitting for I don't know, 6 months to a year, I could have issues. It's just how it is, So maybe try the clove bud oil thing too. That might help you, but don't use too much of that. You could just use that brand straight out of the tube. I guess that's an easy way. That's a bummer. I mean, I use mine quite a bit. I take this out with me when I go plein air painting, and that's why I'm constantly mixing and using it. And when I use limited color palette on my tray, I'll scoop it out of here instead of taking it from the tube, just so that I replenish this more frequently, because I don't know, I just don't want it sitting in here forever, and it'll help. I usually try to keep a little bit more of these filled up. I mean, I try to keep them a little bit more filled, because the lower these levels get inside the wells, the quicker they can dry out. Like if you have a lot in there, at least halfway filled, it doesn't dry out nearly as quickly. I have pine needles in mine. I just noticed. Oh well. And yeah, anytime I open it, I always take out the pine needles. And I check to see if any of them are looking a little, I guess I would say drying out, but they're not drying out. They're not even close to drying out. It's just, I kind of keep an eye on them. And give them a little mix. Make sure they're nice and creamy still. This is good that we're starting the stream by talking about palette maintenance, because I think that's one of the things I get the most questions about. Certain colors definitely have more issues than others. Like, it's always interesting to me how some of my colors are always a little bit more stiff or tend to dry out a little bit quicker, and others are much more liquidy, and I don't know, they just all have their own quirks, and you learn about that the more you do it. That one is full of, usually, so if I get some splashes of other colors in there, if it's not too much, like it's not going to affect the color, I'll just mix it up. It doesn't bother me enough. Like, I don't obsess over it and try to remove all that other stuff. But if it was a lot, I would definitely try to remove that top layer. I mean, Mgram is really great quality. That's the thing. Like, it's so creamy and looks just luxurious to use, so that's why people use it. But it apparently has a tendency to, like, see, I got a lot of green in my yellow, so I will take that out because I don't want to mix that in. But yeah, according to lots of the comments and questions I get, the Mgram is causing, or is a little bit more conducive to mold, so more precautions need to be taken. But it's not to say you shouldn't use it. It's a really, really high quality paint. It might just be better suited to a different setup, you know? All right, the rest of them look okay. I'm gonna just move on. Oh, but I want to get some out on the tray. So we're going with Prussian blue. So I'm gonna get a nice dollop of that. I'm also gonna be using my Pyroline Black, which is basically Pyroline Green. I'm gonna use a little burnt sienna. And permanent alizarin crimson, which I don't need a lot of. I always put way too much of that on my palette because it's such a strong color. of course, we need yellow, so I'm gonna go with the lemon yellow, and my lemon yellow is way more liquidy than my other colors. I probably will need more of that later. I'll just start with that much and we'll see. I think that's it. Yeah, and then white, of course. And so I closed that up because I don't keep white in my palette. I always use that fresh out of the tube. I think it helps if you can paint every few days and replenish your palette often. Or at least do a little mixing and give it a little spritz once in a while. I keep all my my tubes of gouache in a sealed plastic bag as well, so that it reduces the chances of it drying out if I accidentally forget to, or if I don't close one of the lids tight enough, the tops. And I like to do, I'm using zinc white when I do my mixing, so I like to do some white on the left and the white on the right, because then I can reduce the amount of cross-contamination, so I can mix the warmer colors and the cooler colors. I'll leave the white out because I'll probably need some. I actually did just buy some jet black because there are times when I want to do grayscale stuff. And the Pyrrolene black is a really great substitute for black in a painting when you mix it with other things, but you're not, like if you want to do a grayscale, if you mix it with white, it looks green. So, you know, doesn't really work for that. Time to paint. It's a lot of fussing at the very beginning of the process. All right, let me see if I can fix this slightly. Hopefully that will stay. You guys don't even know. I am using my desktop tripod, which is really lightweight. My camera is obviously on the top, and I'm leaning it forward, so it's almost like over the top of my sketchbook. But because of it's top heavy, so it'll tip forward. So in order to stop it from tipping forward, I have a big, my huge metal tape measure thing hooked to the back of it with an old piece of string holding it down. But if I bump it, it could fall over, so hopefully that doesn't happen. Why don't you like gouache tubes? What do you mean? You have your paper ready? You're anxious? Oh, don't worry. Hi, Marley. All right, I'm gonna tape my paper. Hey, Raphael. Also, Tierkunst, hello from Germany. Hi. I think we have quite a few people from Germany. All right, let's see. I gotta get my reference photo back up. You might notice that my reference photo on my screen below me is tall, is vertical, but my palette or my paper is set up to be a horizontal. So what I'm personally gonna do is kind of zoom in to the lower half of the tree. So I'll have the forest floor, I'll have where the roots come up out of the ground and where the tree starts to split off, but I'm kind of focusing it down there. And I'll probably change the lighting a little bit. Like I want more dappled light to be visible on the lower part of the tree trunk where I'm painting it. So I'll like use the reference photo as inspiration, but then kind of make it work for my painting, which is what I like to do for all my paintings. Hey Taishi, Moleskine watercolor sketchbook good for gouache? You might be too thirsty. I loved my Moleskine for gouache. I actually hated it for watercolor and started only using them for gouache. And it's actually way less thirsty than a lot of other ones I've tried, and especially any kind of cotton paper, because Moleskine is not cotton paper. Or, you know, like what I mean when I say that, right? Like 100% cotton watercolor paper. This is a Sea White of Brighton watercolor sketchbook, which is also not 100% cotton, but it's actually even more thirsty than my Moleskine. But I prefer this one because I like the texture of the paper. I like the paper better. And I can use this for watercolor as well, a little bit better than the Moleskines. Getting my brushes. Yeah, there we go. You have the Strathmore watercolor journal. How do you like it for gouache? Or for, is it the cotton one? I've seen those. One of the reasons I like these, this is the Sea White, but the Moleskine is also kind of similar, is because they're textured, but they're supposedly cold press, which is textured, but they feel much more like hot press to me. Like they're so smooth. This one, I like the texture better. It's a little bit more prominent, but it still has like a nice, like I can easily get the gouache to flow across it. But I hate painting with gouache on like Arches cold press because it's way too textured and way too thirsty. It drives me crazy. It would be good if I was doing like a watercolor gouache combo, because then I can use watercolor and it works great on the Arches and then like top it with gouache. But if I'm just doing a gouache painting, I never do my Arches paper. Okay, so yeah, my brushes. So yeah, Julie, is that the cotton one? Is that their really nice cotton watercolor sketchbook, or is it a different one? Because I saw the Mind of Watercolor using, who is another YouTuber, they were using that Strathmore travel sketchbook, their journal, and it's 100% cotton, and it looked amazing. His results are always great, but it looked like it was performing so well. Let's do a quick sketch. You like the Sea White for more dry paint work? I haven't done a lot other than gouache or like little watercolor studies on it, so I don't know. I haven't experimented enough with it, I guess. I might make the roots a little bit more prominent on the forest floor as well. Okay, that should be good. So what I like to do before I start is like really strongly try to visualize the lighting. Even though I have the reference photo and that's kind of helping guide me, like I want to think back to the moment I was there. Like, why did I love this scene? What stood out to me? Usually it's the lighting. So how do I recreate that feeling of like just the whole forest just felt like it was glowing. And again, the dappled lighting, the filtered lighting coming in and like hitting the tree trunk, oh, it just like drew me straight to this tree. So in order to capture that feeling of like strong glowing forest, I want to make the background pretty bright and vivid, and then the tree itself will be a lot of shadow, and the foreground will be quite shadowy, except those hot spots on the tree trunk. So that can help. Like if you sit down for a second and just try to visualize something like that for yourself with whatever reference photo you have, it can help you just get started, because otherwise you're staring at this reference photo and there's like a billion details and you're like, okay, where the heck do I start? But it's all about the layers and building up from nothing. Also, I think it really helps to get rid of all the white space as soon as possible. If you can't visualize it as strongly, like just get like at least a layer of color down, because that'll help. So I'm going to start with like a really strong orange color. Maybe have like a pale version up in the top. It'll just like help set the tone, you know, literally. I feel like it's much easier to work from a base color than from white. Hi, Nicholas. Also, let me know if the music ends up being too loud or something. I tried to choose a playlist that wouldn't have a lot of lyrics because that always distracts me. If you'd like the Hahnemann 140 knot paper in a book. Ian, I have the Hahnemann toned paper watercolor sketchbook. It's awesome. I haven't used it a ton, but already I love it. So I've been experimenting with that a little. But I haven't tried their like regular white paper or any of their bigger stuff. And I know they have a huge variety of paper. Good quality at a cheap price. Yeah, that's hard to find, but I don't know, like it's hard with watercolor to sacrifice the quality of your paper, but with gouache, it doesn't matter as much for me. As long as it's acid free and, you know, it's going to be archival in the long run, I'm okay with it. I actually found that I prefer paper without 100% cotton content. Like it doesn't soak up as much. It doesn't behave the same anywhere close to like what my Arches does. And for me, it just works better for my process with gouache. So it's good that that's the case because it's way cheaper. These Sea White of Brighton sketchbooks are crazy cheap. I mean, not like they're falling apart in bad quality. I'm saying like they're super affordable. So depending on where you live, it might be a different price, but you can hopefully find something that works for you at a lower price. All right. So I have some blue sky peeking up here. Remove some of this yellow. I'm always shocked at how much darker the white, or how much darker the colors dry in general. The color shift of gouache always catches me off guard. Know it's gonna happen, but I still get surprised by it. Music's alright? Okay, cool. Sorry, I know that was delayed reaction. Whoa, way too dark. So we actually haven't decided, or haven't chosen a date for the January. What year is it? What month is it? The November paint along. So I know I don't want to make it near the 25th because that's in America that's the Thanksgiving holiday. So a lot of people are usually busy. But I'm also going to be in Skye one of the weekends in November, so it's going to be tricky. I need to figure it out. And I can't do it the first weekend because that's just not going to be possible. Yeah. I think that's why it's so affordable for me too, Ian, because I'm up in Scotland and it's made in the UK. So if you can find a local company that makes watercolor sketchbooks or albums, you can definitely luck out with some awesome prices. Like their travel watercolor sketchbook, it's the spiral bound one that I like to use for watercolor outside, was £6 for a sketchbook. I'm like, what the heck? And it's way better than the Moleskine I used to use. Saunders water filtered paper. I thought it was too much. I think I've tried that. I liked it. I think their rough paper I liked. I haven't checked that out, Ian. I've been getting most of my supplies from Jackson's or this place called, oh my god, it just went out of my brain. Artie Folk. Wow. Artie Folk. which has been good. It's like really good prices. How should you get started in art? I recommend start with drawing, definitely. Get a strong foundation in drawing. That'll serve you really well in any type of art you choose, any type of painting, any subject. Hey, Mazura. Well, I just started like half hour ago, so. Coffee. It's too late for me for coffee. But I love it. Hey, Ramen. Hey, Janelle. Good, I'm glad. It might lull some of you guys to sleep, though. I like just really chill music when I'm painting, but it varies. Like, I use this stuff for my YouTube streams because I don't want to get, copyright strikes, and it's the Epidemic Sound. And I haven't looked at enough of their non-acoustic selection to know if I like it. Oh, okay, Woosie, have a good day. We'll see you later. Good luck with everything. So I stick with the chill stuff for stream, but when I'm not streaming, a lot of times I'll listen to synthwave, chill step, chill hop, all of the chills, and a lot of Celtic music. Hi, Life of a Scion, a socio nerd. Hello. Just bought your Miyahime gouache box. Awesome. Hey, Vivi. Try not to punch your face. Yes, good goal, Woosie. That's a good goal to have. Oh god! See, Boosie? I'm so freaking clumsy. Okay, hold on. Can I salvage any of that off my brush? Probably not. Sake. There's like a random white, blue spot there now. Oh god. We were talking about how clumsy we are in Discord. It's like, I'm surprised I'm even alive still. Like, I'm so clumsy. Or maybe I should say accident prone. I don't know which one is which. I do that a lot though. I drop my brush a lot, which is so annoying. I've done that on like larger commission work and ruined it and had to start over. Not laughing when that happens. Okay, I'm like dilly-dallying. No more dilly-dallying. Oh yeah, I've done that. Stick the brush in the coffee. Yep. I've seen a set of mugs that says paint water, drinking water. Or no, it said painting water and not painting water or something like that. It's like, brilliant. One Koval or two? Oh god, don't drink that. Deadly. Still not dry enough. So my strategy for gouache, usually, there are times when I use it like super thick and don't really layer a lot, but my preferred strategy is to work in a couple thin layers, and then as they dry, I let them dry, and then in between, and then I progressively get thicker and thicker and thicker towards the end. So after the first couple layers, I don't use any water, or as little water as I possibly can. But I'm still in the first layers right now, so I would say I have about 10%, 20% water to gouache ratio going on. That first layer I did with the warm color was like way more water than gouache. But it's always weird though in the first few layers because like you go into it knowing you're gonna cover a lot of this up. So you're right now in the first couple layers, you're like trying to see past your subject. For me, the subject is the tree, pretty much. But at the moment, I'm painting everything else, and so I'm trying to see it as, you know, if I like could physically remove that tree and the leaves and stuff from the scene, what would I be looking at? And so I try to paint that. I could paint directly behind my tree, but since I know it's going there, I don't. And I want to make the background interesting. I don't just want to... I love using like really bold brush strokes, and so you can see brush strokes in the end. So for the background, it's like the perfect opportunity to do that. Like go really stylized, get those bold expressive marks down, and do it in a way that it like does represent the colors and the lighting properly, but just have fun with it. But a lot of times, like at this stage in the painting, I can throw myself off. Like I can get really caught up in the fact that it doesn't look like it's supposed to look yet. It like out of context, this background is just total abstraction. So I always have to like remind myself to like keep going, stick with it. And that's the tricky part though of working up in layers with gouache, I find anyway. I don't know if you guys are similar in that. Sometimes I call it the ugly phase, where it's just like a hot mess. What is going on in this painting? But it's necessary. You have to get through that to get to the good stuff. But there's been plenty of times where I've given up because the ugly phase was too ugly. Like, I don't know how to save it. Silly, I know. Fat over lean. Yeah, it is pretty similar to that, I guess. Except you don't have to worry about your painting cracking. I think the other tricky thing that a lot of people struggle with, and I struggle with, is the water reactivates the paint. So if you're layering, you're always going to have the potential to reactivate the layer below or blend into the layer below. So that's when the water control becomes like crucial. So in like your after your first couple thin down layers, it's ideal to not use more water because it's gonna just blend and reactivate that first layer if you do. You're thinking, what the heck is she doing? I've seen lots of your work, so it didn't make sense. Can't wait to see how you save this. That's always a good thing when people in chat are like, what the really? That's one reason I love the streaming aspect, because you look at social media, you see people's finished art. You don't see how they got there. But when you're watching a stream, you see all those layers, all those ugly phases. You see all the ups and the downs, and, you know, if they messed up and then changed something or had to start over, whatever it is. So I think it's really cool to be able to share that. But I don't think a lot of people realize, or like, it's easy to think that someone you admire, an artist you admire, is instantly good. Like they'll just like open their sketchbook and the magic appears. Like the painting is there, it's finished, it's perfect. But for me personally, every single painting I do, there's a moment where I'm like about to give up. I hate it. I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. Like, that is inevitable. So the more I do it, the more I am aware of that, and I can like give myself a break and be like, okay, you're in that moment. Just keep pushing. You'll get through it. Especially with a scene that is really complex. If like a forest scene, there's so much going on, and you can spend hours and hours and hours just like working on all the little details. And it can be discouraging when it's not looking good right away. But it does take a while. Okay, so over here it's going to be a little more like faded out. Hey, Alex, good to see you. Happy Friday. Oh God, I'm on your living room 4K TV. Oh no. What do you do in your gouache in a sketchbook to keep the two pages from sticking together? Gouache doesn't do that. Yeah. Obviously, you have to wait for them to dry before you close your sketchbook. But once gouache is dry, it's like bone dry. It feels, and to me, it always feels and looks like pastel. So that's not an issue. Hey, Rachel. Good morning. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, it's always one reason I like watching live streams is that reason. Like, I love seeing the result of someone's work on social media or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's so beautiful and inspiring. But like, I know from personal experience, it probably started like this, like looking very different, very abstract. So how did you get to that point? And it's fascinating to watch the process. And it's encouraging because you realize like, oh, it's not just me. Like, you're not the only one who starts out painting something and it looks like trash and you want to give up. Nope. Happens to a lot of people. Your acrylic ones stick like crazy. Oh yeah. Well, cause yeah, acrylic kind of does that annoying thing where it basically dries into like a sheet of plastic, right? So I've had that with like some of my old canvases. When I dig them out of the closet, they're like stuck together. Oil and acrylic. You checked out the Daler-Rowney Georgian water-soluble paint. The oil. No smell. Okay. I haven't tried those. I mean, I've only tried a few different water mixable oil paints, but I think those are really good really affordable. So if you find that they work well for you, that's awesome. Hi, Evelyn. Hi, Christy. Good morning. Okay. I think I'm ready to do the first layer on the foreground. Once I start doing the foreground, things will start making sense. I did, Lady T. Oh my god. I can't believe that. So, hey Cooper, hi Avi. Recently I went out painting on the coast, and I was on like this cliff that goes down into the ocean, and I posted this on Instagram, I guess, so Lady T saw it on Instagram, but or was it in a video? Anyways, my watercolor palette, the travel one that I use, is super lightweight plastic. Like, it weighs nothing. And I had it open next to me on the ground, and I was setting all my gouache stuff up, and it took flight. It was very, very windy that day, and from where I was sitting, it blew off the edge of the cliff. And I was like, my palette just flew into the ocean. Crap. But I stood up and like leaned over and saw that it was on like a lower ledge. And luckily there was a trail. Well, I don't think it was really a trail, but there was a way to get to it without putting myself at too much risk. So I scrambled down and I got it, luckily. Not that it would have been a huge deal if it flew into the ocean. I would have been upset because it would have been like polluting the ocean, if anything, but the palette itself was like 3 or 4 pounds, and the watercolor that was on it was just like a small amount out of my tubes. But still, it would have sucked. I couldn't believe how far it flew though. I was just like, what? Okay then. All right, now we're gonna get Brave. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with chat. Hello, everybody who's coming in now. Yeah, the water ratio with water mixable oils can be tricky. Sorry, I just need to concentrate for a second so I don't forget where I have my foreground. Didn't mix enough. Also, I probably need to get more burnt sienna out of my palette, because I'm nearly out on the tray. Fill in all those little cracks. So this is just the base layer of where the tree, all the leaves and stuff in the foreground are going to be on the forest floor. And I can build up the highlights and shadows and all the different colors and textures there. The tree is going to actually cover part of this also. And there's another tree over here on the left that's going to stick up. So it's probably good. Hello, Buntiful. Hello, William. Hello, everybody. That gouache artists use palette knives. Oh, I use my palette knife all the time. Then again, I first started painting with acrylic way back in the day, and I didn't use a brush. I just used my palette knife to mix and apply it to the canvas. Don't know why, it's just what I did. And ever since then, ever since I started painting with any other thing, it's like I need my palette knife to be at least part of the process. So, but I find that it's really useful for mixing color on your tray without clogging up the bristles of your brush. Because you know how gouache is, like as soon as you start touching it, it dries. And if you're mixing it on your palette with your brush, it's drying in your bristles as you mix. And you can end up with like, just like clumpiness and streaks of specific colors and stuff. So highly, highly recommend mixing with a palette knife. The glorious color I just put down is a combination of the alizarin crimson, burnt sienna, and a tiny bit of the lemon yellow. Okay, if I missed any other questions, let me know. Impasto is not really possible with gouache. Like you can get sort of thick in some areas, but if you go too thick, it's just gonna crack off of your paper. It's just gonna get so dry and then eventually just crumble off of your paper. But you can get sort of thick with it in places. You maybe could mix it with other mediums, like if you have some kind of impasto medium, maybe for acrylic paint, you could try it with that. It might work. Or the wax medium, possibly. I haven't experimented enough to know how it does with that. Yeah, I can see what you're typing. So, hey Marima. Alright, I'm going to do the layer on the tree now. Oh wait, first, I'll just get some more paint out of the tube. Use a little peroxide. Oh, never done that. There's probably all sorts of tricks I never thought of, but I don't have a mold problem, so for me it's okay. Hi Kiki. Hello Lashand. I do not, William. I don't use a drying retardant because the reason I use gouache is for its unique properties. Like, I love the fact that it dries fast. It is tricky to work around that, but you learn ways to do that, and you just learn to embrace it. I actually have something to show you guys if you're interested. I'm gonna do a YouTube video about this soon, but I've been using gouache. I've been trying to experiment with different ways of using gouache, and I especially find that I want to paint large, but I don't like painting on watercolor paper. So I experimented with painting on primed boards. So I have these cradled panels and I primed them with like a matte primer, and I painted with gouache on them, and I'll show you in a minute. I'm actually really excited with how they're looking. And I have a bunch more to paint with, so to paint on. Let's just get a layer on the tree. This is just the base shadow layer. I like to use, I'll put like a nice thick layer down. And then I can blend into this later. So I can just like let it dry even, but the beauty of gouache is that you can blend into it. So even if this dries, my next layers will start blending with this color, this dark value, and I don't have to like worry about mixing it on my tray. Does that make sense? So I am gonna let that dry for a second. I know it looks crazy at the moment, but we're getting there. But I'll show you really quick. Oh, hello everybody. I know I've not used milk paint. Sorry, 1 second. Let me grab... So this is... Actually, I can show you. So this is gouache. I haven't attached it to the frame yet, so it's hard to show you, but this is gouache on a wooden panel, and it's in a frame right now, but I can take it out and show you. It looks like this, so it's just cradled panel. Hold on. There we go. Cradled panel like this. And I also, you can see it's like really reflective because I coated it in the wax medium finish, so it's waterproof and sealed. But then it sits in the floater frame like that, basically. So I'm gonna paint the edges of the board. So I'm gonna paint the edges of the board black, so it'll look like you won't be able to see any of the wood left over in the end. If you want to see close-ups of this, go check out my Instagram. I posted a bunch of photos of it, and it's a lot easier to see the texture. And you can see like how the texture of the primer actually shows through in the end, which I liked. That was like part of what I enjoyed about it. Sorry. Oh my gosh, there's lots of stuff going on in chat. So let me know if you guys have any questions about that I could answer in the upcoming video. I will do my best to remember them. Okay, now we have something to work with. So this is like the first, all the first layers are finished, and now we can start building up the depth and stuff. What primer did I use? Okay, I'll show that in the video because that's probably going to be a good question that a lot of people ask. I'm gonna actually also lay in this left side tree. You can say I lost my mind. I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down. The sky is falling down. Favorite painters and why? Oh my god, I follow a lot of painters, a lot of artists. But in general, the painters that I follow, the art that I like to look at, abstract art for sure. I love abstract art. And definitely stuff that's more expressive I I find, I mean, I'm really impressed by hyperrealism, but I'm not, it just doesn't like capture my interest as much, but really expressive where they like interpreted the lighting in a weird way, or they have a lot of interesting textures, or and you can like see the artist's hand visible in the final piece. I love that. So that's more what I'm drawn to. So to start building up the variety on this bark, I'm going to start touching in other colors. Hi, Manasa. Hey, A2S. Hey, Julie, thanks. When did I start painting? 2015. But I had a pretty strong, like, foundation, I guess I would call it, in drawing before that. Because I went to art school and that's where they focused on drawing. And I also have a strong background in photography, even though I taught myself photography, but I think that it's a huge reason, like it helped me learn composition. This brush is a 3/8 flat brush, 3/8. But it's a nylon Pro Art brush. But I mainly studied like 3D, not 3D art, but ceramics, sculptural stuff, and computer graphics in school. So like, I wish I had taken painting. I just didn't. You had storage issues as paintings accumulate. You don't sell your work, so paper's much easier. Yeah, that's for sure. Luckily, I am at the point where I sell stuff in a gallery, so most of the stuff that's on canvas or on boards goes to the gallery, or I sell it directly through myself. And in the meantime, I hang some of it on my walls, or I just like store it safely in my storage room. But so far it hasn't accumulated to the point where it's really been an issue. But I do a lot of painting on flat surface, on paper. Like I paint a lot in my sketchbook. I paint a ton on just cut up pieces of paper. Even oil. I paint on oil paper. It's like made for oil, but it looks like watercolor paper, and that does save room as well. So yeah, there are ways around it if you don't have a lot of space. Listen, I have a tiny house. My whole house is like 600 square feet. It's insane. I make it work. Okay, let me think. I am going to lay in the rest of the base of the roots, because I think the roots are going to be important for the composition. I feel like I'm going to run out of time on this painting, because I'm keeping my streams to 2 hours. Your humble hut. Yeah, it's definitely bigger than like the places I lived in college, but compared to our last house was like, it was 2 stories and had it had technically 2.5 bedrooms, so I could take an entire bedroom to myself for my studio. Now I split, this is my living room. I have half of the living room for my studio and a room upstairs that I can do like, I can store a lot of stuff and I can package things and stuff in there. But we do have a courtyard outside that I paint. I sit out there and paint, or just do a lot of like, you know, priming canvases, taking photos of work, stuff like that can be done outside. So still finding a way to make it work. I don't think you need a lot of space, but it helps because I find it really tricky to paint large. Like if I do oil paintings and the canvas can take up like the majority of my workspace, and it's really hard to back up far enough to see the painting properly before in this room especially. But yeah, it's fine. I'll do my best to make it work. Hey guys, welcome. You can see my oil painting on my website. Choose a topic for painting. Usually, regardless of the subject, it's the lighting that captures my attention. So, like a lot of times I don't think about the subject I'm painting, I just think about the light. But I do paint a lot of forests. I love being in the forest, and I get a lot of inspiration from forests and mountains, just like vast landscape scenes. But yeah, most of the times it is the lighting. Something a little bit different or maybe moody captures my attention. I feel like I'm not alone in that. A lot of people get inspired by moody lighting. The Fearless Brush. No, if you go to my actual art website, William, you can see my oil painting. So sarahburnstudio.com. Thank you guys. The kind of brush I'm using, or the brushes I prefer for gouache, I typically prefer flat brushes because they hold less water and it's just easier to control the water to pigment ratio. But I also will use round brushes now and then, so it varies, I guess. But for the bigger gouache paintings I was doing on those boards, I was actually using my giant oil painting brushes, these ones. And it worked way better. So I don't know. It just depends on the paper. It depends on the surface I'm working on. I know that's like not the answer you want to hear, right? Hi Jennifer, good morning. Or maybe good evening? You say it's late? I feel like there's a lot of new people in chat today. Or maybe you're not new to my channel, but I haven't seen you in like a live stream before. So if you are new here, hello, welcome. I'm currently laying in, I think I'm on the second layer out of maybe 4. So I'm slowly building up the detail and the lighting and all of that stuff. I rarely use black. I like to mix black with yellow though. It makes a really pretty green color. But for my black colors in a painting, I like them to be colorful. So I'll use like a blue mixed with a red of some kind, maybe a hint of... So for instance here, I have... Each of these are quite dark in themselves. So Prussian blue, Pyrrolene black, and Alizarin crimson. If you mix the red with the blue, you get purple, obviously. And that alone can be super, super dark. But if you want to neutralize it so it's not so purple and it leans more towards black but still has a little color to it, you can use the Pyrrolene black, which is green, technically, and that'll help lean it more towards a real black. But sometimes I'll just use like straight up Pyrrolene black as my black in a painting, or Prussian blue. That will definitely give the painting a more stylized feel because you're using like a solid color as your darkest color. So yeah, it does depend on what kind of look you're going for. Thanks for posting that, Slave of Hell. Your painting is stuck in the ugly phase? It's temporary. It's a phase. Literally a phase. You gotta be kind to yourself. Hey, Maria. Hey, Rurek. I'm probably mispronouncing a lot of your guys' names. I'm sorry. My day today was good. I went for a really good walk in the forest and got a lot of work done. It started not so great because I was doing taxes, and I shouldn't have done that first thing in the morning because it got me into like kind of a creative funk. But I'm out of it now. It's okay. Sitting around the table chatting with other artists. I know, I love that. It is sometimes hard for me to keep up with chat and paint at the same time, so I apologize if I miss anything. If you have to ask something twice, I'm sorry. It's never intentional. Hey Yashi, hi Lamar. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about anything, I guess you can ask. I need to get a little moss. There's some dark green moss on the tree. Let's see if I can blend some of this green into it without being like too overpowering. So I'll have to come back and cover up some of the roots with more leaves. It's like a constant back and forth. But I need to do the tree first because the leaves are obviously like kind of falling on the tree, on the roots. I actually painted the tree that's behind this tree. So the tree, that's the main subject. Oh, so this tree over here, it's hard to tell, but that's actually this tree from the other side. Or this is what inspired this painting. Because there's like a hill that goes down behind these trees, down into the water. And I was almost standing on the edge of the water looking up at the tree when I did this one. So I like the fact that now I'm getting the other side of it in this one. Oh, hey, Jesslina. Thank you so much. Oh, Maria. That sounds awesome. No, I didn't see that. I didn't see that show. Let's see. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Green, moss. Yes, that's it. It's like, what are we doing again? It's a little more bluish green though. Yeah, the dragon tree. I definitely stylized that one, which was fun. Okay, so I'll show you guys a quick close-up. So I know it's hard to see all the different colors that happen in these from far away. But you can see when I show you up close how crazy it is. All the colors. It feels like someone's watching you. I get that feeling too. I don't know why. So I'm gonna warm up the tree on the left, or in this middle part a little bit. So I'm just brushing some like, I mixed some of the burnt sienna into that first color I used. I never felt tomorrow closing in this fast. Oh, I guess time's in a rush. Hey, Artscape. Did a little too much purple on that side. Hey, welcome. I'm gonna try to do these Friday streams as often as I can. On the weeks we're doing the paint along on the Saturday, I won't be doing the Friday stream. I figured that out last week. I was like, oh god, there's no way I can do both. But otherwise I should be able to. There is one weekend in November that we're out of town, but like, I'll just, if you guys follow or if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, I always have this section that's like upcoming streams, so they'll appear there. I'll schedule them at least a week ahead. It's fragile in your climate? Oh. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's gonna take longer to get out of the ugly stage. Take your time. Don't try to rush it. I know what happens with me when I'm in that ugly phase of the painting. I get down on myself. Like, I tend to put myself down because I'm like, oh, how could you get it? How could you make it look so bad? Like, but it's part of the process. You have to accept it. So I sometimes end up rushing through that phase in order to get to the good stuff and fix it. And then I can end up ruining it because I just rushed through it. So even if you have to like step away and like come up with a game plan before going back to it and like working through it, maybe that can help. But I know how that feels. I'm sorry that you're in that place. You're in that mindset. It can be really difficult to to remember that it just does take time. I need to switch to my tiny brush because I got to get some little branches. Good job, Slave. A lot of these branches are going to be covered by leaves in the end, so don't need to like fuss too much with it. Oh, yeah, I mean, I do one, well, actually it's every 3 weeks therapy sessions. You got to take care of your mind as much as your body. Your mind and your heart and your body. You got to get that balance. It's definitely nothing to be ashamed of or worried about. Like, we're all human. We're all made of the same stuff. You am overworking the area because you come at it from a watercolor viewpoint. Yeah, that's, oh man. I overwork a lot of my gouache paintings as well. Like, because you have this drying shift that happens. It dries a little bit lighter or a little bit darker, but if you don't wait to see how it's, like, what the final color will be when it dries, and you just kind of like rush through that process, it's like you're gonna constantly just paint over the same spot. And I do that all the time, and it's like I have to practically slap myself out of that zone. I'm like, no, just stop, let it dry. Slow down a little. Yeah. Also, you're developing your brain muscles, if you want to call it that. Like you're teaching yourself how to see what is in front of you. Because sometimes you get paint blind. I don't know if that's the term for it. I feel like that's a term I've heard before, where you stare at your painting, you're working on it for so long, and eventually you don't even see it for what it is. Happens to everyone I know. And you literally have to walk away. Otherwise you can't see it for what it is. You have to like come back to it with fresh eyes. And usually, especially if you do that for a while and you come back after like a day, it's like you instantly see what you have to fix. I mean, haven't you ever finished a painting and then the next day you wake up and you look at it and you're like, oh, I should have added like a little more of that. It's like you just instantly see what it should have been. So during your painting session, if you can take little breaks and then come back to it, you can see it with a whole new perspective. Oil paintings, that's actually what taught me to do that, Maria, with my oil paintings, because obviously oil takes forever to dry, so I can only do so much on one layer before I have to like put it away and let it dry. And doing that over and over and over again showed me that taking breaks, days, even weeks in between layers, can help me keep my fresh perspective about what I'm painting. And I learned to love that, and it made me a more patient painter. I mean, I definitely have my impatient moments. I think gouache makes me feel more impatient sometimes because of how fast gouache dries. You get like instant gratification, and that is completely different from oil. So yeah, doing all of the different mediums I think has helped me become a better painter in a lot of ways. Spoiled by gouache. Yeah, totally. turn turn their picture around, or yeah, like they'll, in digital painting I've seen artists will like flip their canvas a lot. That's a really good strategy. Or you can take photos of your art and then flip the canvas horizontally, and you can see a totally different perspective. Oh, Stephanie, that's exciting. I've never tried casein. I've seen, James Gurney uses it a lot in his videos, and it's fascinating. Just, I don't know, I just never had the itch, or I haven't had the itch yet. Maybe someday. Yeah, I only use water mixable oils. That's all I've been using for the last few years. But at first, the first like year or two, I used the regular mediums with them, so I wasn't really using them the way that they should be used. But for the last maybe year and a half, I don't even know, it could be 2 years because time is like an illusion to me. It's flying by. I've been using them just with water or nothing. So now I feel like I've finally gotten to the point where I'm using them properly, and I love them. And you're gonna think I'm crazy, but lately I also started mixing watercolor and oil. And it works. It's weird and it's a mess, but it works. He costs you so much money. Oh my god, Maria, are you serious? You've seen him painting there? You're so lucky. That's awesome. I am way too much of a chicken to paint at the grocery store. Let's see. Is my... Oh, for a second I thought my camera had frozen. Oh my god, it's like I'm struggling to keep up with chat today, guys. I'm sorry if I've been missing anything. I haven't used acrylic in a while. I have, oh god, oil pastels. Oil pastels are my arch enemy. That's what I call them. So I use oil pastels during mixed media paintings, but never on their own. I've tried a couple times and I hated it. Like I was raging. It wasn't like a normal reaction, but I was just like, I can't do it. Screw this. But I've seen people use them and they look like they can be great. I just can't. Yeah, I do a lot of watercolor. I do watercolor and gouache and oil. Like I switch between them constantly throughout the week. Just depends on my mood. Yes, Vader. Baby. Little boy. No. He's a sweet baby. You came to say hi. Oh, it's dark out and you came home. My sweet boy. Yeah. He's gonna be meowing now until I stop and feed him. Sorry though, I need to stream. Let's take this off. I make him wear this reflective safety collar outside because it gets dark. It's 4:30, just after 4:30 now, and it's basically dark out. So it's like a high vis collar. No. It's time to stay inside. Just gonna put a little food in his bowl. Sorry guys. If I don't it's his dinner time basically, and he'll just meow and meow and meow until I feed him, so okay. Nugget treed herself and I missed the paint along. Wait, excuse me, you mean they got stuck in the tree? Holy crap. Is everything okay? I mean, I'm assuming you got them out. Okay, that's good. Oh man, I would be freaking out. You guys get to hear his after food meow. Wait for it. Was it tasty? Oh. Was it tasty? I know, baby. No. It's time to finish. Go up on your tree. She thought it was a fabulous game. Oh no. Sorry if I missed anything. Like I said, feel free to ask it again. Tag me in the chat and I'll make sure I see it. But so cute. Yeah, he's so cute. I get to deal with it every day, all day. I mean, yeah, he is really cute. He has his very cute moments. He also has his, oh my god, would you stop moments. At the moment, I'm just kind of touching in some highlight color, and I'm going to end up darkening and adding a lot of texture to the leaves as well. Actually, one thing I want to do that's going to help a lot with the lighting is splash for leaves on the forest floor. I know, baby. There's a lot of strategies you can use, but I like to use splashes because they look like leaves, depending on how big the drops of water are. They look like leaves, and you can use that to break up a big kind of monotonous area. Really quickly. And you can also use your palette knife and add in some like scritches and scratches. Scritchy scratches. I just fed the cat. Don't you worry. He is plenty fed. You guys just aren't used to him. If you come hang out on my Twitch streams, you hear him day after day. He is the most talkative cat you'll ever meet. And he has the loudest, most obnoxious meows. He's being dramatic. Yeah, exactly. And that's what he does. He meows before I feed him. He meows during his eating. He meows after he eats. Like, just loves meowing. And I talk to him like all day long, so it's kind of my fault. Like, I've encouraged this behavior over the last 2 years. His name is Vader. You heard your name? I know, baby. He's such a sweet boy. Yeah, they're cute. They're cute meows, but he also has his really loud, annoying meows. Painting on the board is awesome. Thank you. It's okay, baby. How would you paint needles on the forest floor? Well, if you're doing a close-up of pine needles, that would be a different. But if you're this far away, you know, I'm kind of zoomed out from the scene. It would be a lot of, I would say dry brush texture would work really well for that, because all you need to do is indicate that the forest floor is made up of lots and lots and lots of these little things, which are the needles. So as long as it's not a solid color, and as long as there's not like obvious giant lines, doing something like this, getting some color on a palette knife and scratching into the paint can work really well for that as well. I don't know what breed he is. He was a rescue when he was 8 weeks old. And we think he was a barn cat before that, like in a litter of barn cats. Because the farm that Wolfie got him from was, like, they had a big barn. But he's always been a little mischievous. It's a little mischievous kitty. No, baby. He had his first vaccination yesterday, and the lady was like, I haven't seen a cat that scared in a long time. And I was like, oh, I know. He's such a scaredy cat. He acts so big and tough, and like with Wolfie and I, he is like the king of the castle, but anybody else comes around and he is like the scaredest thing in the whole world. This poor baby. He's like a little panther, but he's scared. The faint brush stroke that makes the sunlight effect on the ground yet. Well, you can also build up your dry brush textures to create that look. It doesn't have to just be one brush stroke. Like this is the first one, and I'll come back in with more to emphasize it later. Also, I have a ways to go on this painting. I would say it's about halfway done. But the rest of it is a lot of detail stuff. It always seems like the last half of the painting takes the majority of the time. He loves his little chin scratches, doesn't he? Now, will you let me paint? Or are you just gonna get cat hairs everywhere? But here, I'll show you, because it's starting to dry, up close, some of the textures. You being a good boy? He can't handle the cuteness of Vader. He's a baby. Okay, now, I'm gonna put you back. Now you be good. Vader! Sorry, I was trying to show you the palette knife scratches on the bottom. So imagine if you did this over and over and over again with many, many colors, you could kind of indicate that. You could hint at that look of the pine needles on the forest floor. He's no bother. Well, you know how it goes. When you're trying to paint and your cat is on your lap and you're like, first of all, it's hard to not just sit there and pet them the whole time. But also, you can't quite do the same things you do when they're not on your lap. Okay, I'm gonna splash a little more. On the edges. I know, baby. and then let that dry. And then I'll have to come back and do a little more warmth, like in the warmer leaves, because there's more that need to be highlighted, basically. Oh yeah, my palette is usually full of cat hair, and that's why. It's fine. It adds value to the painting. We've decided this. Get a white cat named Obi. I would love for Vader to have a little brother, but at the moment we just can't. Our place is too small, and it takes a lot of work to have a kitten. Maybe in a year. Yeah, no problem. I'll give you a close-up before I finish the stream too. Okay, I need to add some orange. Oops, wrong brush. Did I miss any questions while I was playing with Vader? I need to not say his name because he hears me and then he's like, why aren't you playing with me? Four people dislike your stream. Oh, please. That's nothing. That's just the part of the internet. I've watched so many videos where it's like the person is making the most amazing, beautiful art and talking about it, and it's like crazy inspiring, and even those perfect videos get dislikes, and you're just like, what? You can't think about that. It'll drive you crazy if you focus on that. So for a lot of the pieces of this painting that I'll probably need to finish offline, I'll be continuing to build up the detail in the forest floor. I'll add more texture to the bark of the tree. Wait. I'll add some branches that overhang with like some variety of leaf colors. Why is this playing the same song? Wait. No. Come. Have to like chase him away. I will be adding some more of the like direct light that's hitting the tree, and in the spots where it's not highlighted on the moss, this is what I'm gonna do. kind of similar to this like pale purple color, I'll mix up a little bit of that, but lean it more towards the red. So it's like kind of purplish red. And it's diluted and it's got a lot of white mixed in. And I'll use a dry brush and I'll dust it onto the tree like that. And then I'll slowly build it up until it's like bright enough so it looks like a highlight. And in the final like hot spot of the highlight, I'll probably do a really pastel version, like a warm reddish orange perhaps, and just like catch the edge of that color of the bark. I hope that makes sense. So that's my strategy. But I'll post the final result on Instagram, and I may consider making these streams a little bit longer, but I've been trying to keep them at 2 hours because it's a lot. So I'll be wrapping up in a minute. Does anyone have any final questions, or I guess I'll just see you next Friday. I'll hopefully have a video going out before then of the gouache on the big boards, so that'll be fun. Can you stream 2 more hours? Well, if I plan ahead, I could probably do that. If I work it into my schedule ahead of time. You want to see Vader again? He is upstairs meowing now. Being dramatic. Oh, yeah, that's right. Happy Halloween weekend, everybody. Happy Samhain. Whatever you celebrate. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If it's sunny where you are, try to get out there and paint or take photos and soak up that inspiration. That's what I've been doing as often as I can. But as a reminder, I will be streaming on Monday over on Twitch. So if you want to hang out, I do a 5-ish hour stream on Mondays. And I forgot what I'm doing on Monday, but it's chill. So if you like this kind of vibe, then you'll enjoy the Twitch stream. So thank you guys again for hanging out. I'm gonna put my end screen on and we'll say goodbye. So have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you later.